bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. How you doing? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019. 23 days into the new year, just 342 days left. We've got a full year in front of us. And we are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Tonight, fired up, man. Fired up tonight. Paola Harris is here. That's right. We're going to be talking about whistleblowers. That's right. We're going to talk about J. Allen Hynek. We're going to talk about ufology around the world, countries in Latin America. We're going to do that. It's going to be a great conversation tonight. Really looking forward to this. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. And that will be tomorrow night. I do want to remind everybody, Friday, I will be at the NAMM show. That's right. I will be down in Anaheim, California. And then Saturday night, I am over at Coast to Coast AM. And my guests over on Coast to Coast will be Carolyn Ford. We're going to talk about Einstein. I still can't get Einstein. We've got our baby Einstein now, right? Outlander. And what an experience that was with Einstein. So I'm excited about that. And then my guest over at Coast to Coast will be Eric Von Daniken. Live from Switzerland, of course. This year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods. So that will be my Saturday night over at Coast. Wow. And there you go. I mean, it's just what a week. And Sunday I'm going to be in bed. I can already see that happening. I am going to be exhausted. I have to get ready for another amazing week that we've got next week on Fade to Black. And I spilled the beans on that yesterday on Monday. Darylenka Bashar will be here. Bashar. It's going to be great. Hard to believe that Darylenka lives right down the street and we don't hang out. There is no excuse for that. I mean, there is just no excuse. So that's our week here. And all right, where am I at tonight? Paola Harris. Do head over to our website if you're not there right now and follow, like, and subscribe. All of our social media, which includes OnStellar, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. It's all simple. Go follow, like, and subscribe. And over on Twitter, where I am hanging out right now as I look, I was the third person in our chat room today. I've never done that. Let's see. Corolla and Catalina were number 1 and number 2, right? And they both, it's kind of funny. 1, that's the thing to do these days, right? You're the first poster, you're the first viewer. 1. And Catalina comes in with number 2. So I just said, ha! I'm number 3. And, wow, a fade to black in the chat. Yes, that is me, everybody. I normally, see, now my chat room computer is further away. So, if you're looking at me on the camera, for me to go into the chat, I would have to do this to type. I can read it just fine. But that's what would have to happen, right? Is I would have to do, and so that's out. That's right out. That's not going to happen. But I can read what you troublemakers are doing. If you're looking, so this computer here, this laptop, they're both the same, but this one is the chat rooms and the network feed going out. This one here, as you can see, that's our video, so you can see me on the video, right? So that's the video feed. So that's what's going on with those two there. Okay, where am I at? Man, I'm in a great mood. Can you tell? I'm in a great mood. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so anyway, so what I was getting at, chat rooms over on Spreaker and KGRA, and then, of course, Twitter is at JChurchRadio. Follow me over there and use the hashtag F2B for the sandbox and join the conversation. That's all going on over there. Any questions or comments? Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black Questions. And, of course, you can email throughout the show, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Crazy news day today. It doesn't get any crazier than what went down today. All right. Now, I don't do politics on this show. Don't do it. I do the conspiracy of politics. More on that in just a bit. But what a crazy news day today. I mean, big news. And a lot of it has to be the political variety, but which I would normally ignore. But Venezuela has broken diplomatic ties with the United States. Or has it? A senior Trump administration official said today that Nicolás Maduro's order for U.S. diplomats was to depart Venezuela, that it was meaningless. President Trump announced today that he is recognizing Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido. I think that's how you say it. Nobody's said it correctly yet. I've heard a few different Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela. Following Trump's announcement, Maduro said that he was officially breaking relations with the United States and said that U.S. diplomatic staff in Venezuela had just 72 hours to leave. So we got that today. And then, of course, Nancy Pelosi has canceled President Trump's State of the Union address on the House floor that was scheduled for next week, Tuesday, January 29th. That's historical news. That's news that will be in the history books in 50 years when kids are taking U.S. history, if they still study. But yeah, that's a really, 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 really big deal that went down today. And then, if that doesn't top everything off, President Trump has just sent a letter to the North Korean leader Kim Fatty Fat, and it was officially received today in Pyongyang. Wow, right? Okay, now as if that wasn't all huge news, and it's just crazy news where we are today, right? Check this out. Boeing completed the first flight of its autonomous air taxi. That's right, and that happened earlier today at a small airport outside of Washington, D.C. Now, don't get too excited. Nobody was on board. It lasted about 60 seconds, and it wasn't really a flight. It just hovered. But you got to start somewhere, right? And that's, we won't be here in 50 years. Thanks, Jace. Man, you don't got to say that. I won't be here in 50 years. Well, I could be. I would be 105 years old. The oldest man in the world died last week. Did you guys see that? I think he's 115, 118 years old. Japanese. And, yeah, he died last week. So no word yet on who is number two, who the successor is to the oldest person in the world. But, yeah, I would have to crank it to 105. You know what? I would do it. I'm not sure that, I mean, look at me. I'm 55 years old, and I don't feel 55. I don't think 55. I think exactly like I did when I was 25. I play guitar. I listen to heavy metal, and I dress like a, you know what I mean? I don't know. So the age of 105. What we, they say 50 is the new 30. 30 is the new, right? Isn't that what they're saying now? 70 is the new 40. I don't know. So what would that make 105? What would that make a $105? Right? Yeah, you're living. You guys are funny. But, what would 105 mean? The way that people are talking today. If I cranked it to 105, would I look 50? Would I look 60? I'll tell you what. Jane Fonda. Have you guys seen Jane Fonda's new TV series? Oh, it's not so new anymore. Grace and Frankie. Have you peeped that out? And if you haven't, you should go check it out. And it reminds me, going back to the show, Newsroom, Sorkin's show on HBO. But go check out Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda is 81 years old. 81. Go check out, you know what? If you didn't know her age, and let's say you didn't even know it was Jane Fonda, it was just some brand new actress, right? First acting gig, you didn't know. And you had to guess her age, you would be off by at least 20 years. There's just no way. Yeah, and she's 80, 81. She's about to be 82. So there you go. All right, where am I at? Boeing. All right, I just mentioned I will be at the NAMM show this Friday, January 25th. I'm going to be running around all day with guitarist Kurt James. I'm very excited about that. And today I was talking to Kurt on the phone, sent him some files, some music, and I think he's going to do a little guitar work on it, right? So more on that as that develops, how cool that's going to be. But I will be hanging out with Kurt James all day Friday, walking around the NAMM show. We've got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of business to get taken care of. And that is Friday, January 25th. If you're going to be at the NAMM show, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know where you are. I will be posting everybody in real time where I am at the NAMM show. That's this Friday. And then coming up next month, it's only, I can't believe I am going to say this, it is exactly 1 month away. It is the 2019 Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles, California at the LAX Hilton, which is February 22nd through the 25th. And like I've said every day, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Eric Von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods. And our guest tonight, Paola Harris, of course, is going to be there. So is Eric, Jason Martell, Billy Carson. Rabbi Ariel Bar Zadok, who I had on the show 2 nights ago, is going to be there too as well. And he is so dynamic. Linda Moulton Howe, right? Nassim Haramain. And I just lost one ear of my headphones. And isn't that absolutely bizarre? Check. Oh, man. Is the feed still in stereo? The feed's in stereo. Why am I in mono? Oh, God. Jeez, I hate this. Check. Oh, I'm back. Got to wiggle the cable. It just died. All right. And so that is coming up next month. And click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. And coming up after that is Contact in the Desert. Very cool. ContactInTheDesert.com. That is May 31st through June 3rd in Indian Wells, California. And then right after that, and this is very important, our 2019 Soltech Conference is over the July 4th weekend at the Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. And what you need to do, you have to go to soultechgathering.com and get on the mailing list for first crack at access to tickets. Over the next, I'm going to say probably 3, 4, 5 days, we're going to do the full blitz on the announcements. And we've got, I believe, we've got all of the scheduling done and speakers and all of that is all arranged. But we'll have all of that presentation up and running, and tickets are going to be available to those that are on the mailing list. So you've got to go to soultechgathering.com to get signed up. Very limited tickets, and it's going to sell out. It's going to sell out probably this week. So what you want to do is go to soultechgathering.com right now. It's over the July 4th weekend right there in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Okay, where am I at? Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It is just $2 per month. Click on the podcast banner at jimmychurchradio.com and also become an official Fadernaut. And you can do that in our membership section on the site. I did see a post earlier today saying, do we ship shirts internationally? Yes, we do. And so if you want your official Fade to Black t-shirts, you can get those in our store over at jimmychurchradio.com. All you got to do is plug in your information and your address, boom, and the international stuff will pop up right there. Okay, it's all simple. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, the one and only Cheap Trick frontman, Robin Zander, is 66 years old. That's right. Makes you want to... What's your favorite Cheap Trick song? Right? That's a long list of hits. What's your favorite Cheap Trick? When you think of Cheap Trick, where do you go? Right? Think about that. Live at Budokan. What a great album. So I don't want to pollute everybody with what where I go first, but it's not their oldest, but I think it's their best. Anyway, no. Yeah, new headphones. These headphones here, okay, Kevin just posted up Beats. I've got the Beats, and I used them for, you have to go back and watch Fade to Black and see when I was using the Beats. Those Beats, which were very expensive, lasted me about 3 months. The foam, the leather, all cracked, broke apart, started separating. That stuff fell apart. Cable issues and everything else. And they sounded okay. They weren't great. Not as nearly as nice as these Sony V6s that I'm wearing right now. And over at Coast to Coast, I use Tascams. I've got another pair of Sonys, but that I used to use over at Coast. But probably at the NAMM show, I'll be, I think I'm going to have some new headphones. So it's funny that you did, but I guarantee you I will never waste money on Beats again. All right. What's that? The best Cheap Trick song, He's a Whore. Dream Police. He's a Whore came in a second time. Look at that. Cheap Trick, is that before 1979? I know what I'm playing. Yeah. Yes, it is. Surrender live from Budokan. I agree with you. That is an amazing... I can't believe you guys aren't... Come on. The Flame. That's what I'm talking about, James. Coming in strong. The Flame. All right. I'll give you guys a tip. Their Tascam's coming out with new headphones, but Ashdown Engineering has their meters headphones, and they've been wanting to send those to me for a long time, and I may take the plunge there. But I'm committed to Tascam, and they've got some new headphones coming out, so we'll see what happens on Monday. We'll see if I can get a pair of headphones out of the convention center. On this day in history, in 1968, the USS Pueblo, a Navy intelligence vessel, is engaged in a routine surveillance of the North Korean coast when it is intercepted by North Korean patrol boats. They still have the Pueblo. You can go to Google Earth and look at it in satellite. It's right there, the USS Pueblo. You can see it parked at the dock. And so they still have the boat, but the surviving 82-man crew was released 11 months later. Fader fact. Here you go. This is a good one. Dutch bicycle company Van Hoof puts pictures of flat-screen TVs on their bike boxes. Doing so saw an 80% decrease in damage during shipping. Their cover of Don't Be Cruel is amazing. That's really good, Cassandra. That's pretty good. But I'm going with the flame. The flame. Anyway, so you take a look at the Van Hoof shipping boxes. They're bikes. They've got a giant TV right on the side, and they don't get damaged in shipping anymore. That is your Fader fact. All right, tonight, Paola Harris is here. We're going to be talking about whistleblowers, little J. Allen Hynek, Project Blue Book, and, of course, ufology all around the world with a focus on Latin America, Central and South America. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. Let's do this. I mentioned at the top of the show that I don't do politics. I just don't. I dabbled in it for a minute, and all it did was get me just all wound up, right? I just don't do politics. There's a few things that I don't cover on the show, but politics is one of them. But what I do is the conspiracy of politics. And right now we have the craziest things going on possible. Right now, not only here in the United States, of course, but internationally. And it seems that Latin America hasn't been in the news like it has been in the past, right? Just about every country in Central and South America has been influenced one way or another by the United States and the CIA over the years, island nations too as well, right? And, it's like pick a country. Pick a country. Think about it. Civil wars, overthrows, dictatorships, money, the CIA, United Fruit Company, right? There you go. But after the invasion of Panama and the removal of Manuel Noriega, we haven't heard much about overthrowing nations to the south, right? It just really hasn't been part of our game, at least on the surface, because the conspiracy has never ended. But that was until today. It seems that we're on the brink of another various situation in Venezuela. President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido as the country's interim president sets the stage for a dramatic escalation in the coming days, as forces within and outside of Venezuela wrestle to determine its future. And I am very concerned. When Maduro reacted to this, ordering American diplomats out of the country within 72 hours, and Guaido swore himself into office, declared that Maduro had been deposed and that Americans can and should stay, right? And then the response from Washington, here you go, right? Harm any of our staff and the hammer is going to fall. Well, there you go. I can tell you this with certainty. This was all planned. It was all planned for a very long time. There are other players on the international scene as well, and I'm talking about Russia and China. This is a very serious game of confrontational chess. These moves were all planned ahead, and there is a lot on the table. And under it, it's called oil. This isn't about a bad leader or a bad economy, or the starving Venezuelan people. He may be bad, and they may be hungry. And that's the story that will be spun for sure, but it's about big banks, big money, and big, very big oil. The proven oil reserves in Venezuela are recognized as the largest in the world, totaling 297 billion barrels. Now, in comparison to number 2, that's right, Saudi Arabia's reserves stand at 265 billion barrels. So there you have it. That's it. There's your answer. There is no other. If Venezuela didn't have any oil, right? If they didn't have any oil, we would stand by and do nothing. We would let the bad guy starve his people. And that, my friends, is the conspiracy of politics. That is the crime of what is going on right now. Now, there's two ways that I look at this. There are seriously two ways that I look at this. Actually, three. One that I just presented to you right here. But the other one, and I'm being very serious, if we are so concerned about the government down there and so concerned about the people and the food and the money and the economy and what has happened, you know, to the good people of Venezuela, if we were that concerned, why didn't we do anything 5 years ago? It was bad then. Why didn't we? Right? So it's a strange situation here. We can't look like these heroes, all right? We're going to go in and do it's just a wrong way to approach this. Because, quite frankly, should have done this a long time ago. And the other way that I view this, and I truly mean this, I lived fairly close to Venezuela, right? Geographically, pretty close, but I lived down in Panama. And I can say this because I live there, that Central and South American people, it doesn't matter what country, are all beautiful, unbelievably cool, fun to hang out with, love the United States, they love the world, they love everything. That's the way that it is, right? And they certainly recognize the support and the economy that the United States brings to their countries. That's part of it. All of them would love to visit the United States if they could, and if they can, they do, right? And that's the truth about it. And that's why I feel so bad about the people of Venezuela. And what they are going through here and what they are about to encounter. I left Panama before the invasion. I left it. I wasn't there for that. But I was there for some very, very tense moments. And it's not a fun situation to go through. So I'm serious. My thoughts and prayers are with the good people of Venezuela. Hopefully this is going to be a smooth thing that goes down. Maduro ain't going to go out easy. It's just not going to happen that way. It could, and I hope that it does. With that, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back with our guest, Paola Harris. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me right now on J Church Radio. That's what you want to do. Join the conversation in the sandbox. Hashtag F2B. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo-3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris.
What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Join the conversation at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B. That's right. Paola Harris is here, which means we're probably going to bust through about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 tweets during the show tonight. And if you have any questions for Paola, it's very simple. Hashtag F2BQ right there on Twitter. I'll get it in. It's going to be great. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Paola Harris is an Italo-American photojournalist and investigative reporter in the field of UFOs and extraterrestrial related phenomena research. With a master's degree in education, she is also a widely published freelance writer. She has studied extraterrestrial related phenomena since 1979. From 1980 to 1986, she assisted Dr. J. Allen Hynek with his UFO investigations and has interviewed many of the top military witnesses concerning their involvement in the government truth embargo. In 1997, Ms. Harris met and interviewed Colonel Philip Corso in Roswell, New Mexico, and helped get his book, The Day After Roswell, for which she wrote the preface, translated into Italian. Paola's books include Connecting the Dots, Making Sense of the UFO Phenomena, How to Speak to a Ball of Light, Exopolitics, Stargate to a New Reality, All Above and Beyond, and her latest book, Conversations with Colonel Corso, details the Army and Corso's role in back engineering alien technology in the Pentagon. She's spoken around the world, including Ireland, England, Norway, Switzerland, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, Germany, and Belgium. Her production company is Starworks USA LLC, and she produces the Starworks USA Laughlin UFOs and Consciousness conferences right there that are held each November. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Paola Harris. Paola, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to hear you, Jimmy. But let me tell you, I was born in Italy. I'm Italian, so I find it a lot easier just if the Americans call me Paola, because my Italian name is Paola. Paola. So it's hard. It's hard. So Paola's just fine.
You know, it's funny that I call you Paula when we're talking, and then, but formally in public, I try to change it, and I goof it up every time.
I know. I'm just worried because sometimes the word payola means that you're paid off for playing a record. It's like in the old days, that's what the DJs used to get for, playing certain records. So I think Paula is just, let's do Paula, because you and I and Rita are friends and we've known each other for a while. Let's just do that. It's easier.
All right, we'll go with Paula. Paula's good. Well, what have you been up to? I can't believe it's been so long since you and I have talked and had you on the show. What have you been up to?
Well, actually, ironically, you had me on the show when your mom died, the day your mom died, which I was just devastated.
Right.
And you got on a plane to go, I think it was to Florida.
That's right.
Yeah, and I've been up to, I work all the time, so what have I been up to? I've been all over the place because you named all the countries, and quite frankly, I'm more of an international journalist. I'm not a ufologist, so let's get that clear. I'm a journalist, which means I have to cover all the stories. And from 1992 to 2007, my house was in Rome. My apartment was in Rome near the Vatican, so I worked at the American Overseas School, and that money that I made teaching English, I have a master's in education, I was able to do research over there, and then from there I could go to countries, because like when you're living in Italy, it's next door to Switzerland, it's next door to Spain, it's next door, to England, and so I was working there. I returned to the United States in 2007 because I have two grown kids here in Boulder, Colorado, and I'm getting old, and I wanted to be where the kids were, so I'm living now outside of Boulder, Colorado, and I love it here. And so do I still travel? Yeah, because the planet has become my home.
I remember the videos of Colonel Corso over in Italy, and that was a pretty dynamic time for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even more interesting is how I met Corso. I was working for a magazine. I still write for X Times. I was working for a magazine at that time called Area 51, and my boss, who's going to be in Laughlin this year, by the way, Maurizio Baiata, sent me to the 50th anniversary, and he said, go find this guy named Corso, because he's got a brand new book out, and I want you to do the story, and I don't want to do it. At that time, I was suffering over a romantic situation. I was depressed. I did not want to come back to the United States. But I ended up coming back because we had some friends that picked me up at the airport. I end up in Roswell, everybody and his brothers there. I mean, this was the 50th anniversary, Whitley Strieber, John Mack, Bud Hopkins, Linda, everybody was there because this was the big 50th anniversary, and there was no place to sleep, Jimmy. There was no place for me to do the story. I didn't even know what Corso looked like. I ended up at the press place. I said to the media people, I've got to do a story, so don't put me in a hotel that's 50 miles away. And they said, yeah, it's all booked up since February. And they said, if you want to stay here, just look at the phone book. I opened up the phone book. The first place I called was the Sallyport Inn, and there was one room there for 3 days, and that room was next to Philip Corso.
Well, see, that's the universe right there. That's the universe.
Yeah.
You can't deny
is that weird?
Yes.
Or is that weird? I mean, I didn't know because I didn't know what he looked like. I end up at the briefing there at the museum, if you've ever been to Roswell, and I'm standing there, and I see him up there, and I don't know how in the world I'm going to talk to him, and this blonde guy comes up to me and says, "You're Italian?" And I said, "Yes," and he said, why don't you ask my father a question in Italian? And I said, who's your father? He said, Colonel Corso. He said, I said, I don't want to do it because all the cameras are pointing this way. He took his hand. He shoved me into the crowd. I asked Colonel Corso a question about the Santilli footage, which is the autopsy, the famous alien autopsy footage.
Right.
And he answered me saying that he thought it was very familiar to him because as part of the artifacts that he had this lens covering which was the eye of the being, of the clone of the extraterrestrial biological entity. He said he had this lens, and in the Santilli footage, if you remember, they peel it off the eye.
Right.
And then there's like a pupil underneath. And he said to me, I want to talk to you, and I didn't know that he was next door. And when I saw him coming out of his hotel later, he came to my room and gave me an incredible interview at 7:30 in the morning. And from that point on, I invited him to Italy twice. He spoke in Italy twice. We were able to film him. He spoke to doctors, scientists, and so forth, where Jimmy was not really appreciated in the United States at the time. There was a lot of criticism. There was a lawsuit against the book. So I was lucky by accident or design to have been close to this man.
The book changed things for me too as well, and I bought it the day that it was released. And I remember there was such a fervor, around the book. And check this out. I'm at my dentist office, right? And my dentist, his mom, was the receptionist. Very, very cool lady. And somehow we start talking about UFOs, and she mentions the book. And I was like, I just bought it. She goes, really? I said, yeah, I finished it, in 2 days. And she goes, well, can you bring it in? And I had to come back the next day. I bring the book with me. I didn't get that book back for a year. That thing changed hands. It went around and influenced so many people wanted to read the book. I got the book back a year later, all beat up, but everybody wanted their hands on that book. Yeah, absolutely. It was a game changer. Still is. We're talking about it today.
It is a game changer. And the reason for me, this is a personal observation, was because I never understood why the cover-up was a cover-up. And I thought, oh, well, that's because it's going to scare the whole world. It's because it's going to threaten religion and all this. And when I read it, and then when I became, I knew him very well. I mean, he came to Rome. I spent hours with him. I realized that the real secret, the real cover-up is all about the back engineering technology. And, of course, today in 2019, because you've talked to Emery, you've talked to so many whistleblowers, that this technology is not something that they're going to throw in the trash. It's not something they're going to ignore. It's something that the industry wants, and it's something that produces money, and it's part of an economy. And I didn't realize that until I read Colonel Corso's book.
I want to circle back to this a little bit later and cover this more in depth. But what I wanted to ask you about really quick before we get out of this segment is Project Blue Book, because, well, obviously there's a little bit of an uproar, behind the series right now. But you worked with J. Allen Hynek for 6 years, almost 7 years. And when you watch, I want your first reaction. When you watched episode 1, is this based on reality?
Well, the actual cases are real. There were 101 cases in Blue Book. It started in 1952, finished in 1969 with the whitewash at the University of Colorado with the Condon Report. However, knowing Alan, and I'm going to call him Alan.
Sure.
Alan, first of all, never went anywhere without a pipe, and they're not letting this actor have a pipe for some reason, or he doesn't want a pipe. Mm-hmm. He never went anywhere. I never saw Alan without his pipe. And number two, Alan was very thoughtful, quite distracted at times, But the addition of the paranormal, of the Men in Black, the show reminds me a lot of the X-Files.
Sure.
So I think it's modeled on that for people to watch. It's fictionalized for people to watch, but the actual cases are real. Except the first case there with the pilot. I'm not sure that the pilot in the real case, and Ruppelt was involved in that, was listening to a song, Fly Me to the Moon, and it was, in his mind. I mean, they added the paranormal there with this obsession with this song that he heard and so forth. I'm not sure that part is real. But the actual cases are real. It reminds me a lot of the X-Files, quite frankly.
Well, they've definitely modeled it after the X-Files. But what I am more concerned with, and I'm okay with that, it's the easy way out for them. The formula is laid out, and that takes the mystery out of what they're going to do with the show and how they're going to produce it. But I'm more concerned about the legacy of J. Allen Hynek and moving into what because I didn't know the man, but it seems like there's a lot of creative license and freedom that is going on here. Now you've talked to Paul, right? His son, Paul Hynek.
Oh yeah, I knew the family, Mimi and Paul, and no, Mimi was nothing like Mimi was nothing like the Mimi in the show. Mimi was interested in archaeology. Mimi was an intellectual. She was not like the housewife in the show, and there was certainly no Russian agent or whatever follow Mimi around. She was a strong lady. So yeah, there's a lot of license in the show. But you got to remember, Allen Hynek was a professor. He was your absent-minded professor. He wasn't. I don't think he was an adventurous person who climbed trees. In the second episode, the Flatbush case. He's climbing a tree. Now, I don't think he did that kind of stuff. Basically, what's great about Allen, though, Jimmy, is that Allen started out as a skeptic, and he's one of those wonderful people. And I love these people that change their mind. He's one of the people that went along with this. The swamp gas stuff, he could never live down. I remember he used to tell me, everybody's angry with me because I'm a Johnny-come-lately. They all knew it was real, and I went with the, swamp gas explanation. So he never could have lived that down. And, but he was a curious man. He was thorough in his investigations, but he had the courage enough to go on his own, and I became a member of his Center for UFO Studies in Evanston, Illinois, and he had the files there that he was working on. What I did for him was translate his Italian files, his Italian sightings.
Did the obvious question, of course, here, Paula, is this. Did he ever confide in you anything that you can speak about here about ETs, government knowledge, his experiences?
Yeah, well, he was angry because he kept saying, they're not telling me everything. He kept saying, no, they're not telling. They're hiding so much from me. They're not telling me everything. So he couldn't get the truth. He couldn't get the whole story. And the confiding part was he was more of a teacher and a mentor to me because at that time, and I'd grown up a lot, all he had me do was put pins and maps. I mean, he'd call me and he'd say, there's 5 sightings in Indiana, put the pin on the map, and I was doing these, what we call waves. We don't have waves as much today, and who covers this is MUFON today, but I was putting pins and maps. I don't want to hear what was inside the craft. I don't want to have to do with contacts or aliens or anything. I was the black and white, nuts and bolts, person. But once once I drove him to a place here in Denver where a contactee was telling him the story, and you can see Alan leaning over with his pipe and listening to every word. And I was, and as I'm sitting there going, this person is crazy. Why is Alan giving him all his time? This person is not telling the truth, and so forth. And I went outside and I said to Alan, why did you spend so much time? He said, One thing I have to teach you, he said, is that when you are listening to any witness, you let them tell the whole story and do not prejudge or have preconceived notions, he said. The story is that you must listen. So I learned a lot from him. And then he said to me, and I'll never forget this, and I've talked to Jacques Vallée since, he said, Paula, the paranormal is mixed up with this, and don't ever throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Do you think that there are certain things that have already been revealed in Project Blue Book, and I can see where this is going, that either Dr. Hynek lived two lives, right? One that we don't know about, and the other one is the public one that we do know about. That he was out there, that he made contact, he crashed in an airplane and was out doing these crazy investigations and seeing things that he just didn't reveal. And I go back to Paul Hynek. Is this stuff that maybe Paul and the family have revealed to the writers that this was actually going on in J. Allen Hynek's life? What do you think about that?
No, he didn't do that kind of. For people to know what Allen Hynek was like, they've got to read Jacques Vallée's books. They're called Forbidden Science, Volume 1, 2, and 3, and Jacques gave me his books, and after reading those books, I got the whole story. Because they're journals, they're diaries, and Jacques talks about being with Allen in these places all around the world. Allen, like most of the people that research, was looking for funding, money to do this. Because even though he went off on his own, he needed funding, and I remember the whole funding question. And he would go to different places and observe. Like I said to you, he was great at listening. He reminded me a lot of John Mack, who used to do the same thing. He used to listen for hours. He was not an adventuresome, jump on a horse, go do your own thing type. No, he was a professor. And his passion, I went on vacation with him to New Mexico, to Santa Fe with him and Mimi, and I remember his passion was astronomy. He loved to look through a telescope. They don't even have him doing that there. He had his own observatory. I think he had his own telescope down near Socorro. He looked at the stars. He was a professor. He taught. He taught at Northwestern. He wasn't the type to, venture, climb trees, jump on a horse, go in the backwoods. He wouldn't do that kind of thing. He wasn't really like that. And I think that the Air Force brought him in because the Air Force already knew the truth. I mean, you could see it. I believe they already knew. I believe they already thought it was a matter of national security. But they wanted a reputable person to tell them stuff. And a reputable person would be a professor.
What about the whole Men in Black government interference part of what is starting to evolve in Project Blue Book with J. Allen Hynek? When you were at the Center of UFO Studies, was there anything, did anything feel not right? Was there any agent-type people running around? Did you ever see any activity like that?
No, but you got to look at the dates. The dates were 1952. And he stopped in 1969, or it finished. Blue Book finished in 69. I don't know when Allen stopped working with them. So what you're getting is the 1950s, and the 1950s were full of stories of Men in Black. 1950s and 60s, that was when the Men in Black situation. So I'm thinking they're G-men, like the FBI men. Like I lived back in those days. We had a lot of stories of the FBI, G-Men, Dragnet, all these stories back in then. And I think that was back then. In 1980, I think we had passed that stage of Men in Black and so forth. There is CIA. There are people in the intelligence community that are in charge of this, that want to know. Everybody wants to know. It's just that what they do with it that's different. We want to know for different reasons. They want to know for not only national security, but as Colonel Corso used to tell me, he said everything we've discovered about the artifacts and everything we're using for military purposes first. He said it could benefit mankind.
So there wasn't any spook type activity.
No, not that I know of. But it might be interesting to have Paul on, because Paul and Joel, both Paul and Joel. Joel is his oldest. Are part of the show, and they're good friends. If you want to, Paul is for me. To ask the actual source, while I was with him, there was none of that.
Right.
It was more research, like academic research.
That is so funny. You just made comments about what you saw, that you were around back then. You're my age, so you must have been like 3.
No, I'm not your age. I think I'm older. I was born in 1945.
No way.
For people to know.
No.
Yes, I was born in Italy, 1945. My father was a cavalry officer under Mussolini, and I didn't come to this country until I was 5. And my dad was the Italian consul for the state of Rhode Island, so I'm the daughter of a diplomatic family, so I have that mentality. The only difference is, Jimmy, I'd like to be an intergalactic diplomatic person now.
I'm doing the math, and you just disclosed. I can't believe that.
I'm 73, but I have no problem with it.
You look amazing. See, I was just talking about this. I've got to head towards a break, but earlier in the show, I talked about the oldest person in the world died last week. He's 118. And I thought, and I just made this comment, would we live, what if I lived another 50 years? I'd be 105, but would I look 105 then, because, 70 is the new 40 kind of thing. And you're absolutely,
I hope so.
you are evidence of, I would have never 70. Wow.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary, but I'm honest about it, because my career spans over 40 years. I know what I'm talking about because I've lived that long. So so I have to be honest.
Wow, that's incredible. Let's take a break right here, Paula, and we'll pick up where we are leaving off right here. And that's about that. I want to continue with J. Allen Hynek, but we've got so much to cover tonight. And we're going to get it all in, everybody, I promise. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be back after this short break.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I'll be hosting the panel with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and join George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, and another 50 speakers who will be presenting at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and a full conference schedule, or click on the CLE banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. We're covering it all tonight. We're going to do whistleblowers. We're going to talk about ufology around the world. Right now, we're talking about Project Blue Book and Dr. J. Allen Hynek. And before we get back to that, Paola, you're going to be speaking at the Conscious Life Expo coming up next month. And what are you going to be speaking about? And I understand that you're going to be interviewing Emery Smith. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, first, my own presentation is going to be about the paranormal, just as Alan Hynek talked about. Finally, I'm going to talk about my career and all the weirdness that led from one major story to another, and I'm going to try to connect the dots. My first book is called Connecting the Dots, Making Sense of the UFO Phenomenon. So I'm going to cover from, when I saw Close Encounters, when I met Hynek, to my work in Latin America and all the things that have happened in this journey. And as far as interviewing Emery Smith, I live here in Boulder. I met him, and I have done the interviews with Emery here. And I have done 2 major stories in Europe. Emery is so famous in Rome right now. He's just gotten an invitation to speak there because of my interviews, which are translated into Italian, and he's in major magazines. So the thing is that I will be doing that. I think he's speaking 2 days, isn't he? And I'm just doing 1 day of interview with him on the stage.
And when it comes to whistleblowers, certainly, Colonel Corso is one of them, and Emery Smith, although he doesn't like the moniker, right? He doesn't like being called a whistleblower. But a lot have come forward over the years. What do you do with that, you personally? Do you get a little squinty-eyed? Do you try to figure the person out? Because
let me tell you, since I'm a woman, with a Colonel Corso, we brought him to Europe, and Maurizio Baiada and I worked together with him. When I did the Charles Hall case, the tall white aliens, and I'm the journalist that broke that story, it took me 2 years, I asked a Frontier airline pilot to work with me because I thought I was going crazy. So David Coote, who's a captain for Frontier, worked 2 years on it with me. It's like Scully and Mulder. I have to have a Mulder. Mm-hmm. When I did the Michael Wolff case in Hartford, Connecticut, I had my colleague Adriano Forgione fly over and work with me. And now I'm working alone, but, it's... What happens is I just cover the case word for word, and it takes a long time. I also interviewed Dan Burrish, and it's a good thing I did because he was a microbiologist, and his story mirrors a lot Emery's story. And I had to go in a kind of a secret place in Nevada and talk to him 3 different times before I decided to do that case. Because the first time, this whole thing about time travel, this whole thing about, tissues from beings and all this, it was shocking. And I didn't know if I was going to do it. I didn't know if I wanted to put my name on anything like that. So it took 3 times of my going there before I actually covered the Dan Burge case, and I've covered other cases. Michael Wolff worked at S4 in Area 51. Kirkland, that's where Charles Hall is working currently. So I was able, because I've done so many of these pilots, these insiders. I was very close to Dr. Edgar Mitchell. I've interviewed so many of them that when Emery says certain things, it sets off a light bulb, and I can connect it. And I can tell by not only his posture, but his intention, if he's telling the truth or not. And just like Burrish, who couldn't wait to get back to regular science, he couldn't wait to go back to microbiology and work on what he loves. Emery wants to do the same thing. He wants to help people in a medical way. I mean, Emery, I don't think, is going to spend all his life being an insider and talking. He wants to actually do something and make a difference. And I can tell when I'm speaking to these people what their intention is and how true they are.
What happened to Dan Burrish?
He was allowed to speak for a certain amount of time. And he told me, he said, this is it. And he would come with his handler, as you know, that ended up being Marcia. And, they would come together and she'd watch everything he said, just like other people, and to make sure he didn't go off the reservation, as Dr. Stephen Greer would say. And Emery and Dan told me, he said, when I'm finished with this revelation, I want to go back to working regularly. And I have tried in these years to meet up with him in Las Vegas because he's in that area, and they have broken the appointment twice. So I understand he wants to go back into the woodwork and do the work. He came out for a short period of time. It was very controversial. There's a lot of people that took advantage of him, and then he went back to doing his scientist work. And that's what, from what I understand, Emery wants to do too. And also other people I've interviewed that were in these black projects. They're either scientists, doctors, or people that got caught up in this. So, I can tell. I can feel it. I can tell. I know, especially the locations and the dates, what this is disclosure in drips. It's in drips. You're never going to have full disclosure. You're going to get a drip here, and if you study and you read the interviews, if you read the people's books, from the source, not internet, but from the sources, you're going to get the answers.
And what do you do? I kind of want to go back to Bursch for a second because he's a good example of this. And you were right there at the beginning. Do you investigate backgrounds? Do you do due diligence there?
With Bursch, he had already been out, so his background was all over, and we saw documents and so forth. Linda had covered that story before me, and there's another researcher who passed on. I think it was Ron Garner who did that story before me. So they did all that. But a good case would be the Charles Hall case. Do you know that case?
Of course,
Charles
yes.
Hall and the tall whites in the Indian Springs facility.
Yep.
Okay, well, when I was working with the pilot, we got the names of the people. I wouldn't continue unless I got some other corroboration on that story, and we got 4 names of guys that had worked in Indian Springs with him. But I couldn't call. This is after 40 years. Can you imagine if a woman called and the wife answered? So I had the pilot call, and he called and he taped the conversations where they verified things that Charles was saying. And then we had another weird thing, and I'm going to talk about this in my presentation. I was teaching in Rome, and one of the teachers in the first grade, her father was visiting, and he was an LAPD policeman. And he had heard me on Coast to Coast, and he said, "Oh, Paola Harris is in this, private school." I was at the American Overseas School, and he walks into my classroom, and he said, "I'm LAPD. What can I do for you?" And I said, "You can actually look up these guys because we can't find them, and they've changed addresses, and I need to talk to them before I do the story." And he's the one. He went back to Los Angeles, found where they lived in 2 minutes, and not only that, this was the first case where he had a forensic artist actually draw a picture of the teacher from Charles's description. So I had a legitimate policeman, a legitimate forensic artist. I had somebody helping me behind the scenes, and it was all an accident. I mean, how could he end up in Rome? Anyway, and so it was fascinating. I'm going to talk about some of these cases, and when people verify, Charles was only there 1 year when this happened, 1965. Then he was transferred to Vietnam. I think that this is a wonderful story because my stories then went from, I stay away, people will tell you, from just abduction cases to contact cases with people, with space people or space visitors. Then I had to go all the way back to the Giant Rock days, and I dug up all those people to find out what happened in Landers, California in the 1950s, right, which has been hidden.
Right.
So I had to go and look them up, see where they lived, talk to them. I ended up in Cornville to talk to Robert Short, get details what the involvement was back then in the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. I mean, do you know how real that movie is?
It's one of my favorites.
Well, that was commissioned by the intelligence community, but that stuff really happened.
No, I think it's a documentary myself. That's my personal take.
Yeah, it is, Jimmy.
Same thing with Close Encounters, which I want to swing back around now, back to J. Allen Hynek, because the time that you found him, which was, or you guys found each other, I should say, in 1980. What attracted you? What took you in that direction? Did you have a personal experience?
No. It was an awakening situation. In 1980, I began teaching high school. I mean, my kids were grown enough where I could start teaching. I was in my 30s, by the way, and I got this class, and I started reading up, giving the kids. It's in my book. Giving the kids Dune to read and H.G. Wells and all these science fiction tales. And I got in trouble. I mean, this is in my book, because the minister came to the school and said, how come this teacher is teaching this course, and it started with 18 students, and by the time I finished teaching, it was 186 students that wanted to take the course. But then I started looking at the veracity of it, and I said, the movie came out, and I thought to myself, oh, I wonder if this is real. And there was a wedding in Evanston, and I went to the wedding in Evanston, and I pulled away one day, and I said, I'm going over to see if this is real. And I walked into the Center for UFO Studies, and I told them I was Italian. I wanted to see the files. He's like, show me, open up all the drawers. I want to see if this is real. And Alan Hynek comes from behind the wall with his pipe. I'll never forget it, because I never thought he'd be there. And he comes and he says, hello. He said, my secretary told me that you speak Italian. Would you like to work with me? And I thought, oh, my God, how did this happen? And then from that point on, it was one thing after another. Close Encounters, for me, I had an emotional reaction at the very end of the film when Francois Truffaut had that meeting with the beings. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there in the audience and started to cry for no reason at all. I did not have any experience, but that to tones, the da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
Yeah, and something happened to me after that. I ended up going to Devil's Tower 2 years ago, walking in the forest, and I hear these tones.
No, you didn't.
The presentation, I'll talk about the weirdness. I'm walking by myself in the forest, and I hear da-da-da, and I don't know where the heck it's coming from. There's no sighting or anything. But anyway, that movie triggered something in my DNA. And then the going to Evanston, the meeting Hynek, the knowing it was real, the going from one insider to another, the 5 books with all the interviews all over the world, I began to try to figure this out.
I still cry at the end of that movie, by the way. So
oh, you do?
I'll admit
there's something there.
I watch it. I watch it all the time. I watch Close Encounters all the time. I watch it once a month. I do. I talk about it all the time.
There's something there. Then there's something that triggers in us a reaction.
Now, but we've all speculated, and let's kind of put this to bed, at least from your perspective, your contact with Hynek, because he appears in the film. He's got that famous scene. He steps up and he's looking at the craft at the end of the film, where I'm, doughy-eyed and crying at that moment. But so he steps up and he's got that moment, which suggested a couple of things to all of us. One, that Hynek was in the know. Hynek knew things, real things, factual things. And you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, that it was actually the opposite. He was frustrated because he didn't know things. So let's put this to bed.
Well, it's not just Hynek. I mean, if you read those 3 books, if people still read, to read Jacques Vallée's Forbidden Science, because it's a diary, and Jacques Vallée knew more about the inside operation than Hynek did, because he met with people.
Right.
And Jacques Vallée's character was the one that I bonded with in the movie, Francois Truffaut, who was really a director, not an actor. But when Truffaut said to everybody, they've been invited. Let them through. They've been invited.
Right.
And then I talked to Jacques Vallée this year, and I asked him, I said, what was your part in the film? And he said that Spielberg couldn't find a way of getting those guys, the contactees, to Devil's Tower. And Jacques is into the paranormal. As you know, he's into the dimensionality of it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't think it's just ETs. He thinks it's a whole series of things that contact us, and he's really into the consciousness part of it. He gave the suggestion to Spielberg to have the ESP thing where they're making the mashed potatoes, they're drawing in the shape of Devil's Tower. It's messages that we learn later on are given to people, or what you want to call downloads, are given to people to do certain things, and that was Jack's idea. And then Alan told me that was like Blue Book stuff. The landing for me is like the Holloman landing, and he knew that the government wanted to have these kinds of encounters. But the real, background of that is a series of things: the finding of the ship in the desert, the taking away of the military men and bringing them back, the Foo Fighters. It's like a hodgepodge of things from Blue Book.
I think Valet's an alien. I think he's E.T.
He is one of the most fascinating people
he's great.
I have ever met, and one of the kindest, he reminds me a lot of John Mack, whom I loved. I loved John Mack.
He's got some pretty insane eyes, Jacques Vallée.
Yeah.
he really does.
And but the thing is that he, like John Mack, is very open-minded. He's very kind. He's very open-minded. He's not judgmental. He has his own opinions. There's no doubt about that. But he's not cruel about it. He's not dogmatic about it. He's very open-minded man, and I'm interested now in the consciousness component. I'm going to tell you that I went from nuts and bolts putting pins and maps to the graduate school of all this, which is the evolution of human consciousness.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a minute, because I'm getting there too myself from my own personal experiences. And the nuts and bolts side of things, which I'm still, that happens and it occurs, and I've seen some things, but there's something else that is going on with the interdimensionality of what we're seeing these days, and also the direct connection to ourselves, where I think there is some communication, and I think that there's a consciousness component to this. What has led you in that direction?
Well, because I did all the nuts and bolts part, I mean, in the beginning, you couldn't even talk to me about what was inside the craft. I didn't care. I was just doing the work. I was doing the nuts and bolts work. It wasn't until I was ready in Europe that I met contactees in Europe dealing with some Italian cases that people don't know about, and it wasn't until I realized that what we call the paranormal, what we call the agenda of the visitations. I always say, look, I've interviewed so many people, and this has a nuclear component too, that most of the sightings and most of the pilots, I interviewed Jean-Charles Dubac of Air France. I've interviewed even the Stephenville case had a nuclear. There was a nuclear power plant there. I've noticed that there's an agenda, and the agenda has to do with wake up, people. You have exploded the atomic bomb in 1945. It has caused you guys to play a game of chess. We are all the nations are in checkmate, because if somebody, moves a piece, we have to retaliate, and it's game over. It's game over. Mm-hmm. And so we are at a point in history, and this is what was told to Adamski, which really, really, though, studying Adamski, Menger, George Van Tassel, or Feo Angelucci, studying the 50s gave me the clue that in the circle of history, there are certain times we can change things, and in the 1950s, we could have gone from a war economy, as Adamski was told, to a space economy, made a lot of money, gone to meet our cosmic neighbors, but we had already started the war economy with the industrial complex, and that would mean that you'd have to create the wars to keep the economy going. Now, that's darn serious. So the beings are going, okay, well, how are these people going to make it? Are they going to survive if they're playing a chess game? And so that brings up consciousness. That brings up responsibility. That brings up why are they here? What is our role? And I remember the great Robert Dean, whom I love dearly, used to say, it's not about them, it's about us.
And we have to look at it that way, because the other civilizations that are out there in our Milky Way, we can talk about the universe, but let's just talk about our Milky Way, that the only way that they can evolve is to get out of a war mentality. They raise themselves to another consciousness and they understand things. Or what's the alternative? They're not going to survive. And so they have to have gone through the exact same things and experiences that we are dealing with right now on this planet. And they would have to be concerned for the very survival of the Milky Way. Or are we just going to disappear? Or are we going to evolve? And that's the way that I look at it, Paula.
Well, I'm so glad to have this conversation with you because this conversation is a grad school conversation. I look at it this way, too, because of a lot of the contact that people have had, especially in South America. A lot of them are time travelers, and what they're saying is this. We come from a place where we have a collective consciousness. In other words, we do what's good for everybody. You guys have a singular consciousness. You do what's good for number one. And there was a famous teacher that came to this earth that tried to get us on a collective consciousness. And he said, don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. Mm-hmm. Very simple message from Christ, who came to this earth, saying, love your neighbor as yourself. I mean, if you're going to love your neighbor, you're not going to rape him, kill him, murder him, and try to take advantage of him. That is a collective consciousness. And if we get out of the religious angle of it, just the philosophy of it, mm-hmm. It's a collective consciousness.
Sure.
It's been given to us. We were given that gift. Whether we did anything with it is another story. They're watching because in the messages from Latin America is that we're all related. That somehow this planet was seeded with all kinds of different kinds of people from different places, from so forth, and that whatever happens to us, it affects them, especially when we deal with exploding an atomic bomb and all the other tests that we've done. So the thing is that it's very interesting on a sociological level, on a scientific level, on a philosophical level. And this subject, instead of being great entertainment on internet, should be in a university.
I like the entertainment aspect, though.
I know you do, of course.
Of course I do.
Of course you would.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. And when we come back, fascinating conversation. When we come back, we are going to talk about ufology around the world, and we're going to talk about Latin America. It's fascinating. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Paula after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. Tomorrow night, open lines all night long. Friday, I will be at the NAMM show in Anaheim. Saturday, I'll be over hosting Coast to Coast AM. That is my week. Sunday, I'll be sleeping. Monday, I'm back here on Fade to Black to kick off another week. No rest here, Paula, in the entertainment side of things, but
I hope you're taking vitamins.
I am a vitamin addict. I'm a vitamin addict.
You have to.
Well, you know, what I do every day, I don't want to get off on some crazy tangent, but I do moringa, I do pine bark, I do olive leaf extract, I do vitamin C, I do CBD, every single day. It's changed my life, and compared to what I was like a few years ago, it's supplements and taking them correctly will change you. I drink a lot of cleansing teas, Life Change tea. I drink that, and it's a necessity as you get up there in age. I'm 55, you know, and
yeah. Well, I think it's important because we need these things. We're like cars that need gasoline. We got to keep going.
You have to, and we, just like yourself, we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't take days off. We can't. And when I've been doing this now for so many years. I'm 5 years on Coast, right? That's a crazy concept to bring into play, plus all the television and all of the radio, that there is no rest. And the only way that you can take care of yourself is supplements. That's it. Your body will revolt. It will go. That's it.
Supplements, and then take a walk once in a while. I think you have to move your body at a certain age. I think it's very important to do that. And, people say to me, or the question everybody in the world asks is, do you think there's disclosure? I feel like saying, well, if you listen to shows like this, and you listen to people that are credible, and especially if they've written a book, and you're a studious person, this is disclosure. I don't know what else you want.
That's right. You're 100% correct. And there's another aspect to this that I've been very troubled with over the years. And this goes back a long ways when we start to look at the way that Chile or Argentina or Brazil and even Mexico was looking at the UFO subject as a government and taking it very, very serious. And I would look at the United States and go, why do we have this difference in attitude? And it's so free and out in the open when you go south. Why is that?
Well, because they're not looking for the propulsion system. I mean, to be clear about this, I had to do a lot of research of the 1950s. The 1950s and 60s, I had to go back there to see what was going on. Because if you look at this in a sociological way, the 60s and 70s was the jumpstart of the New Age movement. And somebody jump-started that. The fact that Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, EST, all that stuff came out. And if you start looking at Uri Geller, the Council of Nine, Phyllis Schlemmer, Andrea Paul-Harris, the fact that, I started studying it like a teacher, like a master's degree in this thing. I started looking at the background of Rottenberry, who was involved with Phyllis Schlemmer and Andrea Paul-Harris, who worked for the CIA at that time with the psychic stuff at SRI. Somewhere in there, in Phyllis Schlemmer's book, here is Gene Rottenberry channeling, asking questions of ETs and getting downloads, and then we have Star Trek. And then we have Yogananda at this time, and then we have the change in our attitudes of society and the start looking at the whole New Age situation, which I think was a jump start to try to get to consciousness. Of course, it went commercial like everything else on this planet. But and I had to go back to the 50s and 60s, to the contactees back there, to see what they were saying, what the messages were, what the downloads were. Do you realize that there was like 15,000 people at Giant Rock?
I do.
I mean, they came from all over out there, and they had sightings, and something was going on. And then we have 1960 with the Betty and Barney Hill case and the abduction scenario, which is to this day the only image of our ufology, the only image. Why do they go to South America? Because they don't talk about little gray aliens. They're actual people coming off ships. Those people who were coming off the ships in the 1950s and 60s realized it was a lost cause here, because the interest was in the craft, the propulsion system, like it is today with To the Stars Academy stuff, to back engineer stuff. And they're going, well, these people, we can't get very far if we're doing consciousness studies, so we better go to a place where you can go up to people. It's a heart-to-heart connection, the heart chakra. I don't think you have anything in common with an alien or a being from another place or another dimension except consciousness. They're alive and you're alive, and you have a heart, and hopefully they have some kind of connection to you. I don't think you could intellectually exchange anything with these beings. So the South Americans, and especially Peru, and I'm going to Peru in May with Ricardo Gonzalez, things happened in Latin America and Peru where these beings that said they came from the constellation of Alpha Centauri were interacting with the peasants. And they were 10-foot tall people. There's a documentation all over the place. They were interacting with the peasants near a mountain called the Huascaran. And I want to talk to the peasants. I want to talk to the people. I want to know what these beings were saying. They're people. They come from, they said they were time travelers with a message. And I want to know. And but I have to go to the place where they're talking to the people. They say they have a base in that mountain, as there is a base in Shasta. All the stuff that happens at Shasta is not an accident. Mm-hmm. So in order for me to do that, I can't sit in my living room. I can't look on internet. I got to travel, and travel is part of my And it's all on my own dime. That's the other thing that's really, I think that's why I don't have a significant other. He'd never approve of all the money that goes out on this research. Never. But I want to know, and Latin America has contact. I interviewed Sisto Paz Wells, his brother Charlie, who has transgendered into Veronica Paz Wells. I drove 3,000 miles to Toronto to talk to her. And she told me that Sixto Paz and her brother Sisto and 6 or 7 young people went to the Chilca Desert in 1970. The craft lands and asked them to come inside.
What happened? Tell me about this.
And the people, they're people. And she's verifying her brother's story. And then she tells me that she has contact in the forest in Canada with these beings, and she brings witnesses. And she brought the witnesses of the beings coming down off the hill to talk to her. And I'm going, people should know about this.
Wait. So let's hold on here for a second. I have not heard about this case. So
you can go on my YouTube because the interviews are on my YouTube.
Well, I'm not going to do that live on the air. Tell me what. Okay, so you drove to Toronto. Okay, where was their original contact in 1970?
In Chilca in Peru. All this stuff is out of Peru.
And so she
1970s. Now we're in 1970s with these mass contacts in Peru.
And she is saying that a craft landed and beings came out, invited them on to the craft.
Yeah, and they were young boys. But you know how they did it? I mean, you have to look at the mentality there. It was automatic writing. Sisto started to automatic write.
Right.
They gave them the coordinates of where to go. They camped for 3 days. They fasted. They just juiced. They didn't eat. This is one thing, because I've done some of these meditations in Argentina with these people, and fasting is part of it, or just eating fruit and fasting. And then they get the messages of where to be, the craft lands. And in the 1970s, I think there were 8 boys, were invited aboard. And they consequently became contactees in Latin America. And the Latin America knows Sisto Paz Wells, Luis Mostacio, Ricardo Gonzalez, and Veronica Paz Wells. These are people that have had face-to-face contact with beings all in the Peru area. And so, you have to study this, but I've spoken to all of them with an interpreter because I don't speak Spanish, and have done all the work in the word-for-word interviews for people that do read, is in all the above and beyond in the last 150 pages of the book there, and go to my YouTube channel and listen to Sisto, Ricardo, and Veronica Paz Wells tell the story of what happened in the 70s. So because I'm a historian, I'm looking at the timeline. The 50s and 60s, Southern California, the New Age movement, all of that stuff at SRI, that didn't work out very well. They went to Latin America, and the contacts are happening there. We are stuck in the alien abduction scenario from the Betty and Barney Hill case and haven't moved off that because nobody talks about human-type aliens.
The base that is in the mountains, is this still active?
We don't know. I just want to go where it happened. I know the stories, and the peasants there, I have to listen to what they have to say. Not peasants, but they're the farmers, the common people in the little villages. So I'm going in May with a film crew from Canada and with Ricardo and some other people, and just I want to know. I want to get it from the source, what they have to say about the Apunians. The book, if people are interested in these contacts, are called Contact from Apu by Ricardo Gonzalez. I've had the book translated into English, so they can get it on Amazon. Consequently, in Italy, in 1953, we had a situation in Pescara where we had some human-type beings interact with the 10 Italians, and that's the famous Friendship or Amicizia case, and I've interviewed those people also. This happened on the coast of the Adriatic coast. So these are foreign stories that you can read if you read the books, if you follow my work. Otherwise, you're stuck with what you get on internet.
And somebody brought up the friendship case earlier. I watched, the documentaries that have been out on the friendship case, but it's a pretty extraordinary case and one that doesn't get the recognition in ufology that it should.
Because it does not abductions. I mean, this is a group of ETs that they call the W-56s that wanted to try to live with humans, and they had a technology called UREDA, and they said to the 10 Italians, men and women, they said, don't tell anybody where we are. They were in Roccapia, in a castle near Pescara, but we will stay with you as long as you guys don't fight, if you maintain what's called harmony. And they lasted 10 years, and then the humans started fighting among each other. I went last year to Lake Como, that's where George Clooney lives,
right,
and talked to the 95-year-old man and his wife who participated in this. And as I was sitting there, and they're talking to me about what they lived through and seeing these people. By the way, these people were vegetarian. So what had happened is, even though they lived on the earth, the man that was involved with them had to leave huge truckloads of vegetables and fruits to feed them because they lived among us. It's called the friendship case. It's very, and the man that wrote the book, Stefano Brescia, left me all the materials, including the voices of these ETs talking to the Italians in Italian. So I have the voices. I have it all on DVD. I studied it. I talked to the the people that are still around, and he's 92. Gaspare Di Lama is 92, and his wife is up there. And after all these years, now remember, this is the 1950s.
Right.
1956, they call them W-56s. The only person to cover this who's a ufologist, one of the best in the world, is Timothy Good. And Timothy Good is the only one that travels around and talks to these people. He's talked to the South Americans. He talked to the Italians. He's talked to the French. He talked to. He's done his homework. Timothy Good is amazing, and so I can't name any other people because. Maybe because of the language barrier or whatever, nobody bothers to look into these cases.
Now, are they the W-56? Now, from what I remember about the friendship case, was the contact lasted for 30 years, something like that.
Well, it was more like 10 or 15. They left. They had a base. They had an underwater base. It's hard
right.
for me to even fathom. On the coast of Pescara, and I talked to the people there where the fishermen refused to go out because there was funnels of water coming up, and the fishermen refused to go out there and fish.
Right.
But they went away because the contactees, the Americans, not the Americans, the Italians, couldn't get along. They started fighting. And again, if they have a technology called harmony, and you and I talked about the fact that we have to change the way we think, and that we can't have a war economy, and we have to have a cosmic consciousness. If they have that as a technology, of course they can't stay with these Italians if they're fighting among each other. It's a vibration.
Is that why the contact ended?
Yes, that's why the contact ended. And I had them tell me, they'd say, well, what would happen is like two of these people would go out, the Italians, and they'd have a contact, and the other two or the other were jealous that they didn't get to go, and they would argue among themselves, and how come you get contacted and I don't get contact, which is really what's going on a lot in a lot of these cases with conflict and jealousies and misinformation and so forth that's out there. But the lesson that the W-56 has left was very, very important. They want friendship with the humans. Whether in the friendship case in the Pescara area is very much like the friendship case in Chile, which happened in Chile too. And we found out that these experiments with aliens living among us are happening all over the world.
Now, the friendship case, the base, again, it's my memory, right? But it was offshore and was underwater. Is it unoccupied now? Are you saying that the W-56 split? That they are no longer there?
Yeah, but we're thinking of it in our terms because I couldn't understand that. I did another case on the other coast in Genoa, where the Maurizio Cavallo case, where he actually gave me Polaroids of the beings. But the thing is that what I can't understand, he told me it worked this way: the water would open up, and there was another dimension, and that's where the base was. My mind is always thinking human type, that's water. How can you live underwater? But they're talking dimensionality, that there are different dimensions. I guess people would call them portals, where the water opens up and there is an active base under that water. And I have all kinds of stories that were told to me about the Adriatic coast and UFOs coming out of the water there. And also on the other side, near Genoa. So, my expertise is that I have covered stories all over the world in person, and am trying, like you, to figure this out.
How many humans, I should say, Italians, how many were in contact with the W-56? How big was that group? It was 10.
You saw the video.
Yes,
I've seen YouTube. The video's really clear. It's 10. They picked 10. But it wasn't just the 10. It was also Cardinals of the Vatican were involved. Consul at Pergo, who's one of our biggest protagonists during that time with contact. He was a consul who lived from Rome. There was all kinds of, elite people involved in this case. People you can name that were involved in this case. It's a very rich case, and then you can imagine how I felt going to Lake Como and sitting there with the husband and wife couple that actually interacted. So that what they told me was, and this is again the bottom line. They showed me a piece of paper. I have a photograph of it. The message is unite. This planet needs to unite to survive. Yes. Which is the same message that Menger got, Van Tassel got, in Giant Rock. You people, the end of separation. You better unite. So I'm looking at the United States during the 50s and 60s. I'm looking at Italy, 56, and now I had to go to South America in the 70s. And it's active still, Jimmy, in South America.
You mentioned that you got Polaroids of the entities. I remember one of those Polaroids from the W-56 in the friendship case was it was almost an apparition. The being was is that what you have?
No, the Polaroids I have is from the Maurizio Cavallo case, Beyond the Heavens. That's on the other coast, and that's a long story. That's going to be part of my presentation, because those beings predicted I would come to see him. He let me in the door because they said an American journalist will be knocking on your door. They gave him the date, and he let me in and gave me the Polaroids. The W-56 pictures are that tall 10-foot guy with the Hawaiian shirt.
Yep, that's what I remember. Yep.
Kenyo, I don't know if you remember. He's 10 foot tall.
I do.
He's a giant.
Mm-hmm.
And then the apparition walking down the street, that's Sigis, who's walking with a human, but it looks like he's going in and out of dimensions. And he's going down the street. But what's amazing about that case is all the UFOs that Gaspare di Lama photographed, the real UFO pictures, photos from those days, and UFOs coming out of the water. And those are photographs, black and white, no CGI. Not everything is CGI from that case.
The friendship case blows my mind. I mean, it wasn't just one person or two. There was it was a group that made contact. I do remember the recordings and the conversations, which you have now. That must be fascinating to listen to. But the case itself just didn't break like it should have. It was a tremendous case with evidence and trace evidence and photographs and audio tapes and and testimony that went on for years. It wasn't.
Well, there's a book that Timothy Good wrote called Earth and Alien Enterprise, and it's in there. But the thing is this is what I find, and I'm going to be honest with you, nobody wants to read. Nobody wants to study this. They want it quick and dirty. It's entertainment, and nobody looks at it seriously because you can give it to them. I've lectured all over the world on these things, and people just walk out like they didn't hear it. So I don't think that a lot of people care, and it's okay. I mean, it's fine. But my purpose anymore is just to record it for history. I mean, the only reason I do anything I do is to leave it for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, that somebody went and talked to the original people. And you have the original testimonies, and that's called the history of planet Earth.
Somebody just sent me the picture of the entity that we're talking about on the street, and it just stirs my memory now. I remember all of this, and wow. Yeah, the friendship case blew my mind. It was just one. See, the thing is with ufology, and this is what I enjoy about it. It's the research, and we all go and study the big cases, and there's a lot of information out there. It's when you find a gem, like the friendship case that you don't know about, and you go and you jump into this, and you realize how significant and how big it was. And I suggest to anybody out there, go and check out, I think the movie. The
video is really good. Tell them to look up Friendship Case video. It's about half an hour, and it's very fast, and it tells all about it, and it's real. It happened. I talked to the people.
Let's take a break right here, Paula. We got to do it. I got to pay the bills, so let's do that now. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris, and we're doing it all tonight. We're going to continue with ufology around the world. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com, dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple, at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. If you have any questions for Paula tonight, you can post them right there. Hashtag F2BQ. Paula, are you on Twitter?
I am, but I don't know how to use it. All I can say is that that I have the Star Wars USA on Twitter. The Star Wars USA, is my company that does the Laughlin Conference in November. I'm on the 6th year of that conference,
right,
which was really based on consciousness, and I use Twitter for that.
Now, it's going to get posted up there in Twitter here in just a second, so everybody go and follow Paula right there. One of the things that I find most interesting is it's very easy to research cases here in the United States. There's a lot of documentation and books and videos and things that you can go and do. But for me, the international cases are so amazing. And two of them, every time I think international, well, of course, there's Rendlesham and things, but is the Ariel School in Ruwa in Zimbabwe. Here we have, a school, students, the playground, and a flying saucer lands. Being comes off, makes contact with the kids. They all report it, and they're all alive today. Well, the majority, and they can go back and recall this. It's one of the most amazing cases in all history. And the second one, strangely enough, that always pops in, I talk about these two cases all the time on the show, is Westall, right, in Australia.
I was just going to mention that, Westall. Have you interviewed anybody from there?
I'm working on that now, actually.
I can get you contact there because James Rigney works with us. He flies in from Australia every year in November. He's on my board of directors for the Laughlin Conference, and he brought James Fox over to interview those people for his movie, and that is amazing. Also, the same thing happened.
300 kids. And the staff, right? This is
the staff, absolutely.
It's a no joke, and that's a great documentary, by the way. The Westall UFO documentary is an amazing film that gave me some pretty trippy dreams for about a month. But those are two cases that are outside of the United States. Clearly, the UFO question is not an American phenomenon, is it?
That was just going to come out of my mouth. We're on the same wavelength. That's the problem, because we think this is an American phenomenon, and we just, we don't understand that whatever or whoever is visiting this planet is going everywhere and talking to everyone and contacting. And when you go to contact children, it's a whole other world.
It is.
Because
it is.
Because children are pure, they're honest, they're going to tell the truth, they don't have an agenda, they don't want money. And so, if someone does their work properly, they should be covering this.
I think James Fox covered the Ariel School in Africa as well.
Yes, he did. He's a good friend. He's wonderful.
He's cool.
And his new film, I saw clips of his new film. I'm going to have him in Laughlin in 2020 to show his film. But why the film is good is because he travels all over the world and he gets the source. He talks to the actual people, not people who know people who know people. And you just mentioned Rendlesham, and I just spent this past weekend with Jim Pennison, and Jim had reached out to me because he's writing a new book with Gary Osborne on the code. And the code there's a code within a code. And it's just amazing to me to listen to this man, because 16 pages of binary code is something that's totally amazing. And James told me that it came into his mind when he was sleeping, and the only way that he would feel good is to transpose it, to write it, to get it out of his brain. He was downloaded with this code. So the expertise is somebody like Gary Osborne, who used mathematics, he used coordinates, he used a lot of different ways to decode this. The book is going to be amazing, because I just talked to him today. There is a final message there that has to do with consciousness. So everywhere I go, you can go nuts and bolts all you want. You can do mathematics all you want. You can, go to examine science all you want. But I find that the common denominator in all of the stuff that's happening to this planet has to do with the evolution or the elevation of human consciousness.
Now, I just mentioned my two favorite international cases. I just had John Burroughs on the show last night, by the way, talking about Rendlesham. And, he mentioned Osborne and Penniston's new book, and I think we're all excited about that. I had so many questions about the binary code last night coming in from the audience, and, of course, Burroughs can't address it because that was a Penniston situation, but the book is coming out, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to know.
Yeah, March 1st is called The Rendlesham Enigma, and Jim had reached out to me because I had met him at the Citizen hearing. I had met both of them at the Citizen hearing. I went to that. Talk about disclosure. If that didn't do anything, then I don't know what else we need to do. That was 39 witnesses, actually 40 with Linda Moulton Howe. And if that didn't do anything, anymore, I don't have any hopes that we'll all be on the same page with this, Jimmy. There are people that really care, that are going to research this, that are going to get a personal kind of satisfaction about their own lives out of this, and then there's I'm going to say the entertainment angle, which it becomes the Disneyland kind of thing, and because I've been down to Roswell, I've seen the parade with all the different aliens, and I've seen this kind of aspect of it, and I'm looking at this going, who's going to take us seriously? I really want the scientists and the professors, the universities, to take this seriously. And I don't know how much they're going to take it seriously unless we represent it as a study.
Well, I just gave you my two favorite cases, or the two that pop into my mind first. And when we're talking about international UFO incidents, For you, what do you want to bring to the table? What's the one incident or two that stand out for you?
The Ricardo Gonzalez case, contact from Mapu. Ricardo Gonzalez, and that's Latin American, and the Sisto Paz Wells in the 1970s, the people that went out to meditate in the Chilca Desert, those young boys, and everybody can go on YouTube to get the actual word for word interviews, because I went and interviewed them. Sisto Paz was a Consciousness Life Expo. So that's where I did my interview with Sisto. He's in the Latin part of the expo. Those Latin American cases for me are very, very important. And because it's contact with definite messages and they're human-type aliens, the other one is the Howard Menger case. Howard Menger, Highbridge, New Jersey. I do a lecture on that, and basically I have some photos from the Wendell Stevens archive on that, and who's sitting in the orchard with 100 people, and you've heard this, is Val Thor and two other beings. And I have the photos of that in color and in black and white that come from Wendell Stevens. And I have the audio tape of the photographer, Augie Roberts, who says to Wendell, Howard Menger told me there were going to be three, extraterrestrials sitting there, and he didn't tell me who they were. And he says, I had to take pictures of everybody, and these three were overdressed. And they were sitting in the orchard with Howard Menger. And that, and in that case, is fascinating for me, because none of my colleagues and I haven't been able to afford to go to Highbridge in New Jersey, but I want to go to that orchard.
You said that you have color photographs of Valiant Thor?
Yeah, I do, because they come from the Wendell Stevens archive. Wendell Stevens probably had more material than any researcher on planet Earth. I knew him really well.
No question. No question.
And that I got these photos, 100 photos plus audio tape, plus a letter of the photographer that took the pictures of Thor and Don and Jill sitting there. So, I have no doubts that they were sincere. That Menger said, they're going to be there, and everybody else is dressed in shorts and, just hanging out in an orchard, and there's Howard Menger with dark glasses, and there's these three overdressed, very formal. I'm convinced, even, talking to Glenn Steckling, who did Adamski, said these people would go with Adamski. They were aliens. They would accompany him in his lecture tours in Germany, and they would dress in suit and ties. And he showed me a Polaroid, and he said, "Look at this room." He said, "Which one is the being?" And I said, "Well, it's the guy that looks like Tab Hunter that's overdressed, really good-looking young blonde man." He says, "Yeah, he's not human. He doesn't come from here." And I'm thinking, oh my God, we're missing this whole part of history, the 1950s and 60s.
Back in the 80s, late 80s, you remember when we had 3-hour and 6-hour videotapes, right? Those extended play, long videotapes. And somebody gave me, I still have them, they're packed away in boxes, but somebody gave me check this out, Paula, 2 3-hour videotapes of Wendell Stevens going through his favorite images. Now, and describing each one. And I don't know how many he goes through in the 6 hours. And it's like somebody with a video camera sitting there with Wendell. Wendell sitting in a chair, and he's got his photo albums out. And he's flipping pages, right? It's the most incredible thing. I would watch these 2 videotapes over and over and over again. And there's probably... It's got to be 1,000 photographs that he goes through, and it's just incredible. I miss Wendell.
Yeah, well, I miss him too. And one of the reasons is because Wendell traveled all over the world, and we don't have time now, and I don't want to talk about it. But I spent 4 hours in the Tucson airport with Wendell Stevens before I went to Switzerland to look at the Billy Meyer case. I spent 4 hours. We just sat in the airport, and he told me every detail of everything. And then I went to Schmidt Rudy with 3 Italians and talked to the townspeople and did a lot of research over there. That's another case of human-type aliens that's, just put under the rug. It's just completely swept away. And that picture is not one of the gold diggers from Dean Martin, as if, the picture, I think, of Ascot. Because you think somebody like Billy Meyer, who's a farmer, is going to watch a Dean Martin show and pick a gold digger. I mean, some of this is so illogical and ridiculous. And I went to do that case, and before I did it, because Wendell Stevens and Lee and Britt Elders did it, and I've talked to Britt Elders, I have to talk to the people. I have to get the background. I have to know what they saw. I have to know the original stuff. I began studying the human-type alien to get away from the abduction stuff that we're 100% immersed in right now, to understand if there were messages that came with these civilizations.
Well, there's an aspect to this that I find interesting, both with somebody like George Van Tassel and the original contactees from the 1950s, and you just brought it up, 15,000 people at Giant Rock, right? That was a very interesting time in ufology. And you have to ask yourself one basic question. Were all of those people crazy and delusional, or were these based on actual events and experiences? And I fast forward to today, Paula, and I ask the very same questions. When we have the abduction phenomenon and the channeling and the contact that we have today, of which there are probably millions of people out there with these same experiences that they are talking about, what do we do with that? Are we saying that we've got millions of people walking around on this planet completely delusional and schizophrenic and insane? Or is there something...
The way that I can answer that is John Mack. Just before he died, he said to me, Paula, he said, it is a progression. He said there were abductions, because he wrote the book Abductions, my goodness. And he said, but what's happening is there's been a transformation into direct downloads. Now, whether you want to call that channeling or whatever, he said, the people I'm talking to right now can sit in a chair perfectly awake and get direct downloads. And he said it's like evolution. It's like an evolutionary phase. This is the 1 year before he died, and he spent some time in my apartment in Rome. So I got to talk to him about these things because I'm really curious. However, what I'm complaining about is that every single conference, that's all there is, you don't touch the human alien aspect at all. That becomes historical.
But
nobody touches it.
And don't you see that these people that not only come up to me and talk, but that are intent, and tell me their experiences, but that attend these conferences, including yours, right? They're out there trying to seek answers. They can't talk to their boss or their family about it, not necessarily, but they can go and hang out, ask questions, and find others that have had similar experiences so they can go and talk and get this out.
Absolutely. We have an experiencer group
right.
every morning where they can share their experiences, and that's important, and they're like-minded people. However, like you just said, we bring in people from other countries. I brought Sisto Paz, I brought Ricardo Gonzalez. Every time Ricardo Gonzalez speaks, and he spoke at my conference last year, he's very logical. He shows the proof because he travels all over, has real contact. As he's finished his speech, he gets up to walk out, and he doesn't speak English that well, and the whole room empties and follows him out.
Right.
Because they resonate with the messages that these Apunians, who say they're us from the future, have, and people walk out, and the problem is, again, the language barrier. So I had the books translated into English, and the books are on Amazon, but it's new information, Jimmy, and he spoke last year, actually, at Consciousness Life Expo, Ricardo did, and I think that if you're studying this, you got to study all of it. All of it, every single aspect.
The lineup that you had last year, I'm gonna confess something to you right now, live on the air. So I go and I look at Paula's lineup for her conference last year, and I'm looking now. There is 3 months worth of shows for me right there. all international speakers with a fresh take on everything. And that I really appreciate and commend you for taking that angle and going nearly fully international last year. Are you going to continue that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was amazing that I got Uri Geller to agree to come in on Skype this year, and he's going to have a reunion with Russell Targ on the stage. Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff are the ones that did the SRI experiments on ESP, or remote viewing, and I have Angela Smith and my boss Maurizio Baiada from Italy, who's going to talk about the Michael Wolff case, and Nick Pope and the Rendell Shim. Actually, I hope you come, because it's all new stuff, and it's all new, and it's very difficult to do because a lot of these people need interpreters, and I think it's very difficult for conferences that we have today to afford to bring international speakers and get an interpreter, and I have to do it, because if I don't bring this information over, who's going to do it? And I can honestly say this is auto-financed. It's not. There's no sponsors here. I've had to put my, refinance my house. I don't know how many times to do it. And I really, really, really want people to have this. So I invite you to talk to any of these international speakers. There's a woman from Peru that has contact with people from Andromeda, and she has photographs that are unbelievable, and she does speak English. So, Marcella would be amazing. Any of these people would be amazing.
The other part of this, and I want to get back to what I was asking earlier, and we got away from it, which I love, right? We just took left and right-hand turns. But when we talk about Chile or Argentina or Brazil or Mexico, so many other Latin American countries, where the military generals will come literally out in the public and discuss this. That's a whole different attitude on the UFO question than what we do here in the United States. Is there a chance, we were talking about disclosure, that disclosure would happen from a country like Chile or Argentina and not from the United States, where they come forward and go, look, okay, you know what? We got a craft in a warehouse in Lima, Peru. Is there a chance of that kind of disclosure coming outside of the United States and not from here?
Well, it already has. I mean, look at the Virginia case in Brazil. and Roger Lear wrote a whole book about the being that was taken to the hospital called The Surgeon and the Scalpel. The citizen hearing, if you can get the tapes from that, had these generals here. They had generals from Uruguay, Paraguay, and of course the Disclosure Project had the Iranian pilot that had the near close call with the UFO. We don't look at those things. Unfortunately, they don't mean anything to the average person because they're looking at other aspects of the UFO phenomenon. But I'm sitting in the front row listening to these poor generals. They all stand up. They raise their hand. They swear to God they're going to tell the truth, the whole truth. And here are these congressmen that are retired, and Mike Gravel, the senator from, I think he was Alaska. Poor people. They're listening to these generals. One of them is turning white. Kilpatrick went to have some coffee, and I sat next to her. She's an ex-Congress lady, and her coffee cup was shaking. And I said, it's okay, it's okay. I said to her, it's okay, this is real, it's okay. Because they were in shock that these credible generals from South America, and we had Gary Heseltine from England, we had Roberto Pinotti from Italy, we had A.J. Gevard from Brazil. I mean, what more can you want than all these people that are telling the truth about cases all over the world? What more disclosure do you want than that? And I saw the reaction of those poor Congress people, the retired ones that were part of the panel. And I don't think any of this makes a difference. I know I sound skeptical and jaded, but I don't think any of it makes a difference.
It's very interesting outlook on all of this. Because disclosure means so much to, or so many. It's different to so many, and I have to say this when this is. I want to think exactly. I guess this was last year at Contact in the Desert. I've got literally, Paula, in front of me, 1,500 people, right, packed, 1,500 people. And I say to them, I don't need disclosure, right? And they started to boo. And and the reason, and I'm trying to say, I've seen what I've seen, and I'm okay with it. But when I said what the community needs when they think of disclosure is they need the President of the United States to step up to a podium and say we are not alone. And the place erupted in cheers. And that's not going to change. And you can say I agree with you. I know. Right? I agree with you. But we are in the vast minority here. That's not good enough.
No, I know. But, which president do you want to do that? It's.
I know.
Like which one? And by the way, it's already done. Disclosure. Your show is disclosure.
I agree with that.
Your show is disclosure. Coast to Coast is disclosure. Any show, Gaia Television with Emery is disclosure. I mean, we have disclosure. It doesn't make a difference. It does not make a difference. It's not about the UFOs or the ETs. It's about us. It's about our relationship to the cosmos. It's about figuring out who we are, why we're here, and all this. And it's a much deeper question. And I believe that even if something landed on the White House lawn, they'd say it was Disney audio animatronics.
Right.
They would not believe it, because if you understand it and you study it, you don't need that kind of disclosure. It's real. I mean, you just talk. Anybody that you talk to who's an insider knows it's real.
Safe travels. I am going to see you in less than 4 weeks out here in Los Angeles at the Conscious Life Expo, and maybe I'll get lucky and have the privilege of introducing you when you speak. All right? So safe travels, Paula.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you so much, Paula. Before you jet off, where can everybody contact you and reach out to you?
Okay, on two websites. www.paolaharris.com has my email, and www.starworksusa has all of the information on the new people I'm bringing over to the United States for my conference in November.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you 1 month at the Conscious Life Expo. Thank you so much, Paula.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Paola Harris, great conversation. StarWorksUSA.com, PaolaHarris.com. All right, the links are up at JimmyChurchRadio.com. We'll get them up there on Twitter. I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to swing back around and open up these phone lines. Let's do that for the last segments. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with me.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Opening up the phone lines right now. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695 or 818-921-6929. I want to thank Paola Harris for an amazing conversation tonight. 73 years old. Oh, I did that. Sometimes you just have to back up and go, wow, well, I just did. All right, so the phone lines are open. Let's go to, up first, area code 904. Who's calling?
Hey, how you doing, Jimmy? My name is Amar, and I am from Syria. I lived here in Florida since 2008.
Okay.
Thank you for having my call. The reason why I'm calling is because I had a huge synchronicity when I was listening to you talk to the rabbi last time.
Oh, what happened?
I'll get to that in a bit, but I've always been into the consciousness thing with Stephen Greer. Mm-hmm. And, I've done the meditation lots of times. Nothing ever happened to me. But then when I started going to sleep, I would get these huge vibrations in my body, and I didn't know what they were, so I had to Google it and things like that. But then, I reached astral projection and stuff, but then I came to the consciousness part, which is why I'm calling you.
Right.
When you sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
It's okay, man. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
So, when I go to bed, if I'm really sleepy and my eyes are heavy, all I do is I lay on my back and count my breath and close my eyes, and literally the vibrations would come to me, and I would see this huge tunnel of colors. Every time I do this, I experience this. And then I would end up...
Okay, go ahead. That was my next question. So what happens? Okay, so you end up...
I would end up in this tunnel, and then right before it ends, more vibrations come, and I feel the wind coming through my face. And then I would end up in my room, but I can see my exact room just a bit darker, and I can move in it, and I can go through walls and weird stuff like that. But this really resonated with the consciousness part. A lot of people talk about this.
Can you do it like tonight, right after the show when you go to bed? Can you do it when you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as I'm like in this really sleepy state, which brings me back to David Icke. You know how he says you have to block your sensory organs from giving you input from this reality.
Yep.
So I'm thinking that's how it works. I mean, I would love for you to try it, honestly, and see if you experience anything like that.
Well, you know what I do, and then I want to move on to the rabbi. But this is what I do. This is you've developed your way of doing it. This is what I do, is when I am ready, when I close my eyes, I picture a window on the side of a wall that is black, and I go up to the window like it's a house, right? It's a house, like a white house with a little window in it, and I go up to the window and I crawl through it. Now, and when I crawl through the window, when I crawl through the window, I'm out. Deep, crazy sleep, strong, thing. But if I struggle with it, right, if I can't crawl through the window, I don't go into the zone. And so I concentrate, and then when I crawl through the window, now this is my own thing. Nobody's taught me this. This is something that I've developed over many years, but that's what I do. And I've often been afraid, like if I did this in public, right? I'm up on stage and I've got people in front of me and I go, okay, so I close my eyes and everybody close their eyes and I picture a black window and then I go and crawl through and I'll look out and then I've got 250 people snoring, right? And I don't want to do it on the air either. I just did. So just imagine if people do this. So do it in bed. Right, but that's what I do. I'll take the feedback from everybody if they want to go and try it, but that's what I do.
Yeah, it's really like I'm always wondering how come scientists are exploring that, because when I do it, it's definitely not a dream. Like when I go through the tunnel and the vibrations, I don't feel like I went to sleep. I have total consciousness.
Right. That's fascinating.
And I remember everything.
That is fascinating. I will. I will try it. I'll see what I can do. I would like to check that out. Okay.
Yeah, let me know. I watched all your episodes.
Oh, thank you so much. When did you get? I'm going to get to the rabbi in a second. When did you get here from Syria?
2008. I came here as a student, and then all the war happened and stuff. So I was allowed to stay and get a job.
And United States treating you pretty well?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this place, and I've always loved everyone, and I always wondered, why do human beings fight within each other? Maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's really unfortunate what has happened, not only to Syria, but when you think about Iraq and of course the wars that were between Iraq and Iran, and what's going on with the border skirmishes right now with Israel. I mean, it's a constant. If I was a child over in Syria, just living every day out with that kind of stuff happening, it just freaks me out. So I just feel so bad. But okay, let's get over to the rabbi. What'd you resonate with?
Okay, so remember, it's that episode, but it's not exactly the rabbi. But remember the first caller who in the end talked to you about the tablet and the holographic text and how they would be read from both sides because they were rotating?
That's right.
Well, I had an experience where I just woke up fully awake in my bed, and I closed my eyes back, and I was still awake, but I could see this tablet, and it was really dark blue, and the outline of it was white, and inside the tablet was what do you call them? Hieroglyphs that I couldn't understand whatsoever, but they were white, and they were rotating, but it's not like a full rotation. It's not a smooth thing. It was just like a blink to this side and then a blink to the other side all at once, and I didn't know what that was.
Do you write this down? It sounds like you vividly remember all of it. Do you write it down?
No, the reason is I remembered what happened, but I don't remember the hieroglyphs themselves because I didn't understand them whatsoever. Then when he spoke about that and how the tablet was actually holographic and the texts were moving, I had the biggest rush of my life. Like, my tears started coming out, and I felt this huge vibrations. My hair was standing up. I'm like, no way.
I pictured it too in my mind's eye when he described it, and with the text rotating. And I did the same thing for you. This is what, if I can ask you to do this, and then I've got to get to some other calls, Amar. Thank you for calling tonight. But the next time that it happens, you may not understand what the hieroglyphics are, but draw them. Draw them. I mean, whatever it is that it doesn't have to, of course, it's not going to make sense to you, but capture it in your mind and get it written down. We would all love to see it. Okay?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amar. First-time caller, and don't be a stranger, man.
I will.
Okay, call me back after you. I want to see these hieroglyphs, and so does everybody else. You know this. So
I will, and if what I said worked for you, let me know in the episodes. I'll be so happy.
I will let you know over the air, Amar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night. That's a great phone call right there. And the thing is, when the rabbi was describing that on the air, I did what I'm sure all of us were doing at the same time. I was picturing the text rotating, and I locked on to that. That was a very vivid picture in my mind. Absolutely incredible. I want to go back. Okay, phone lines are open, by the way. 323-825-5045, 323-275-9695, or 818-921-6929. I want to get back because I'm looking at these comments here on Twitter, and I got an email that came in about my comments about not needing disclosure. I kind of want everybody to lock on to something. The excitement that I had last year, December 16th, December 17th, whatever that day was, that Saturday, with the announcement going out over mainstream media. When that happened, I was elated. And the first thing I thought about was the community and how happy everybody was going to be and how happy I was. And if you remember, I drove straight to the bunker. I fired up the systems, and I said, hey, we're going live tonight. All right, this is too big of a deal. So it's not like I don't want to dismiss saying, oh, I don't need. No, I felt the same energy that everybody else had last December. But to that end, when I think about the strange events that I've personally witnessed, I'm not talking about all the testimony, all the guests on the show, all the video. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about my own personal self, that I don't need disclosure. And if you've had the same, I'm talking about yourself personally, not what you've heard on this show or have seen out there or heard from others, but with your own personal experience, what do you need disclosure for? All disclosure is there for is to close the door on the subject so we can all move forward. And so we could, thumb our noses at everybody around us that laughed for so many years. Okay, so I get that. You get a certain amount of satisfaction out of it. But I agree with Paula. I am fully on her side of the fence with this. I don't need it. But the reaction that I got, and if you were at Contact in the Desert last year when I was talking to the crowd about this, you guys know exactly what I'm saying. It got a little bit tense there in that room. It was like, Jimmy, what are you saying right now? So I get it. I totally get it. Let's go to the phones. Area code 540. You're up next.
Hi, Jim. This is Joe from Virginia.
Hi, Joe from Virginia. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. What's on your mind?
Well, I love your last three shows. They were fantastic. And the rabbi, he was just out of this world. And, what I want to know is, I had a question that has been bothering me for a long time. If all these other countries can come out and say that these things are real and that they are happening and that these beings are real, why can't this country do that? Because, the lady you had on tonight, she said, the generals from, Brazil,
Paraguay, Uruguay, yep.
Paraguay,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And from Italy were on, and, they raised their hands, but all the Americans seem to be rather nervous about it.
I have a basic answer for that, Joe, which is an unfortunate one, but I think that we can all agree that the problem is money, and the problem is the oil industry and the gas industry, the coal industry, nuclear power. And those industries. I think that, and I want to thank you for the phone call, I think that when we are dealing with all of this, that if there is a source of energy out there that is powering these, and not only from a power source, an energy source, but some type of anti-gravity and maybe some invisibility is going on, and this kind of technology is out there, and also the interdimensional aspect of it. What would that do to the world economy, right? Where suddenly you could, I've got a hair, everybody's watching me, I've got a hair on my face, is if you didn't have to pay to travel around the world, if you didn't have to put gas in your car, if you didn't have to do any of that and the power in your house, suddenly these ginormous, not only corporations, but the banks that drive them, they become inconsequential. There's no need for them. And that is what is controlling this planet. That's the true control of everything. So that's where the problem is. In the United States, like China, Russia is not quite as big money-wise, but Great Britain is certainly right there. France has got a pretty strong economy, and Europe. That if you take all of that away, that money disappears. And those people control every aspect of our lives. So it's not in their best interest. You know, the possibility of them changing their mind when we run out of oil, when the oil's not there to profit. If they can figure out a way to make money off of UFO technology, off of alien technology, then it'll be a different story. And if you think about it in those terms, I think that answers all of our questions. And you know what? It's not that I'm comfortable with it, but it certainly makes a lot of sense to me. Let's go to area code 951. You are up next on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy Church. This is Fred Grace.
Hi, Fred Grace. How are you?
I am doing great, man. And you're right on it. There is technology out there that you can create, like the vortex knowledge is what I'm into, and it has to do with plasma generator,
right?
Invented by Paul Pantone. And at first, he was just transmutating the elements, and he was getting a lot of electricity or some energy, and this comes from the ground. And then after he started teaching class, and he was a big sensation there for a while, they figured out, put some mercury in the fuel, and then bam, they had a huge amount of electricity. The nature of this type of electricity popped a 360-degree sphere.
Okay, you need to speak up. I'm losing you,
Fred.
Fred.
That's kind of like what the TR-3B pops that 360-degree sphere. It's an electromagnetic field.
Right.
In the infrared or the ultraviolet. No, it's infrared on that one. But anyway, so we have this. Our caller earlier was saying, how come we can't do it? But we can. We have it. We got the TR-3B. We got the Sky Dreadnoughts. Now, the Sky Dreadnoughts are huge. This is a Lockheed Martin in corporation with everything else in the military-industrial complex. They travel in hyperspeed, man. These things are fast. No inertia, because it creates its own field, its own bubble of basically time and energy. It's just like gravity. So that's where we're getting to live. And, I want to do this. I want to build a spaceship. I'm on YouTube. They demonetized me. Now I'm on Steemit. And I just keep trying, Jimmy. And that's all we're going to have to do. One day, one citizen is going to have to take this and just eliminate Elon Musk and all, just going to have to take over everything, with this plasma generator and the UFO.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm kind of excited.
Okay, Fred. Thank you for the phone call, and I totally agree with you, Fred. And so man. Thank you for the phone call. It's going to take, like Fred says, it's going to take somebody brave to step up. And it's been done many, many times, and we never seem to hear from them again. And I don't want to get dark. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to freak people out. But it just seems that there is enough evidence out there with anybody that has come up with something where more energy is put out than is put in, which goes all the way to cars that were running on water, or a carburetor that would get you, 500 miles per gallon. These people we never heard from again. Whether they were bought out or silenced or whatever, there's a reason behind all of that. Let's go to area code, man. I've got 3 minutes left. Let's go to area 813. That's right. How are you?
Here we go, Jimmy. How you doing? It's Rudy from Tampa, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, Rudy from Tampa. How are you?
Hey, it's always good to hear you, man. You always bring the truth, and you always bring love and light. I want to tell you, Jimmy, I don't even know where to start. Where do we start, Jimmy?
Well, you tell me. We've got about 2.5 minutes left before the end of the show.
2.5 minutes. Well, Jimmy, I want to tell you that you're a very special person. You are on your mission. We don't need disclosure. Those who know, know. And there is no going around it, all right? And those who serve the Creator, it doesn't matter what the other side brings. We're here to stay. We're the A-team.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Rudy. Hey, behave and be well out there in Tampa, man.
Hey, that's right. Take care, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's a great phone call. Just maybe this might resonate through with everybody. Do we really need disclosure? Right, the big D. It'll be fun. But do we really need it? Let's go to area code. Let me see what I've got going on here. Let's go to area code 360. You're up next on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, it's Nat, Jimmy.
Hi, Tanette. Great to hear your voice.
Hi, thank you. So I just want to point out that some of us that are still following the QAnon, they call it a movement, but whatever. He said that there are, I'm trying to remember the words, but there are programs that are not disclosed to the public.
Okay, special access programs.
Right.
Okay.
So we think, a lot of people think that QAnon is the alliance and that they are in cahoots with the president.
Mm-hmm.
So I say again, would that not be the disclosure president?
What do you think?
I think it may be, but it's also the slow rollout, the slow disclosure that David Wilcock keeps talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's not the full disclosure. They're just trying to dribble us to death.
Dribble us to death. What would you say, Tanette? I've got 60 seconds. I want your answer on this, okay?
Okay.
How would you react after spending so much time on QAnon? I'm not suggesting anything that I know anything. I'm just being the devil's advocate here. How would you react if you found out QAnon was a couple of 25-year-old kids in Tucson having fun? How would you react to that?
To be honest, I wouldn't care because it's the idea of it rather than who is that guy. It's the idea of the whole. I mean, pretty much he's been saying everything that all of us have already known for years.
Mm-hmm.
So all of us have already known that there's a deep state and all this, what have you. We've known this for, 10, 20 years. And now it's just coming out faster.
Yeah. Tanette, those are wise words. And as I start to roll the outro music, which I'm going to do right now, I want you to say to all the Fadernauts, go Beckley Teppy. You ready? Say it.
Go Beckley Teppy.
I'll talk to you, Tanette. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Love you. Good night.
Tanette bringing it on strong. There you go. That was pretty wise. Those are wise words. She's a wise woman. Faded Black's executive producers Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2019 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You know what that means. Tomorrow night is Fader Nights. Open lines all night long. Until then, follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.